This week on the Four Rivers Ag Report. Hey Ag people, do you know what you don't know? And how do you know that you don't know it? We'll try to answer that conundrum a little bit later on. And which little piggy went feral? And lastly, do you mow lawns? All that and much more on the Four Rivers Ag Report. Hi, and welcome to the Four Rivers Ag Report. I'm Fred Peralta. Well, it's November 11th, which is 11/11/11, which is 63 in binary. But more importantly, it's Veterans Day. And I want to take 1 second out to thank all the men and women who have served in our military for the service to our country. We all appreciate your sacrifice and your commitment. But now back to the farm. It looks like you guys are slowing down a bit. The crop reports are getting revised, so the real numbers are coming in. Granulators are processing your orders, equipment's getting repaired and serviced, and hopefully you're catching your breath. But we were wondering, how did you learn everything you needed to learn to be a successful farmer? Well, we'll explore one option we found for younger people after the Ag News this week. And I'm sorry, Monica's off this week, so you're stuck with more of me. The November crop report was released on time by the USDA, and it was pretty much what traders expected. Corn production is forecasted at 12.3 billion bushels, down 1% from October's forecast and down 1% from 2010. Based on their numbers, yields are expected to be 146 bushels, down 6.1 bushels from last year. Soybean production is at 3.05 billion, down slightly from October and down 9% from 2010. The average yield for soybeans is estimated at 41.3 bushels an acre, down 2.2 bushels from last year. For both corn and soybeans, this is the lowest average yield since 2003. But keep in mind that even with this lower average yield, this is the fourth largest crop ever. So what are you going to do with your crops? Well, you might want to attend the Illinois Farm Economic Summit at one of the 5 different sites around the state this year. This year's theme is Profitability of Illinois Agriculture, Managing in a Turbulent World. Speakers will explore farm profitability outlook and management challenges from several different perspectives. Dates are scheduled from December 12th through the 16th, and information of the event can be found on the Farm Doc website. Well, the invasion of some nasty stuff from the south continues. Herbicide-resistant versions of water hemp are spreading northward in the state of Illinois, and as Todd Gleason reports, a second, more aggressive herbicide-resistant weed is right on its heels.
Glyphosate-resistant versions of water hemp have been showing up in southern Illinois for quite some time. Today, there are populations of this plant that have adapted to as many as 5 different families of herbicides farmers have used to control it. And water hemp is a powerhouse of a weed.
Water hemp is really a species that's very well adapted to modern farming practices. It has a lot of biological characteristics that really allow it to thrive in modern farming systems. For example, produces an abundant amount of seed, and they're very, very small seed that typically don't germinate if they're buried very deeply into the soil profile. And as we've seen a pretty dramatic shift over the decades to more limited tillage and even no tillage, very good environment for these small seeded species really to thrive.
Water hemp plants are either male or female too. It has to cross in order to produce seed, and that crossing creates genetic diversity. Oh, and one more path to pass on herbicide resistance. So water hemp is one tough weed for farmers in the state of Illinois to deal with. But if they think this is bad, wait till they meet its cousin from the south, the bigger, the badder, Palmer amaranth.
This is another dioecious amaranth. This is very similar in a lot of respects to water hemp in its biology, but a lot of work down through the years has clearly shown that it's a much more competitive species than even water hemp is. It's a very aggressively, very rapidly growing species. We talk about water hemp maybe growing, perhaps on a good day it may put on about an inch of new growth. Palmer, on the other hand, may put on 2 to 3 inches of new growth.
And yes, Palmer amaranth is in the state of Illinois. These are found in the wild in the middle of the state. There is a population in southern Illinois that has been confirmed glyphosate resistant, and like water hemp, it will be a growing problem. For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason.
And water hemp is not the only thing we need to be on the lookout for. Illinois hunters and farmers are asked to be on the lookout for feral swine. Feral swine, also known as feral hogs or wild pigs, are defined as free-ranging animals not under domestic livestock confinement. Like kudzu, though, they're an invasive species that competes with the native wildlife for food, increases soil erosions, they can damage crops, plants, and water quality. And feral swines are also known to carry at least 30 different diseases that pose a serious threat to people, pets, wildlife, and livestock. Now, if you spot what you think is feral swine, you should call the Illinois Department of Natural Resources at 217-785-2511. And if you're a hunter in the field and you observe feral swine and pose a valid Illinois FOID card, you can, with the permission of the landowners, legally shoot the wild hogs. It's estimated that the losses nationally resulting from feral swine is more than $1 billion. That would take a pretty large piggy bank. What does a farmer need to know? Well, you have to be a biologist, a mechanic, a financier, a psychiatrist, a chemist, an engineer, a marketer, a heavy equipment operator, an ecologist, a geneticist, and you have to be a weatherman. Luckily, often you grow into farming. Someone can show you or teach you what you need to know when you need to know it. But there are options for young people who are interested in a career in agriculture. One of the options is the Education Department at Lakeland College in Mattoon, and with me today is John Althouse, the chairman of the Agriculture Division at Lakeland. Thanks for coming here today, John.
Fred, thank you for inviting me.
No problem. It's my honor. You know, of all the things students can go into these days, is this a good time for somebody to study agriculture?
Well, you know, Fred, nationwide we've experienced a lot of problems with our economy. But in all honesty, if you look at the agriculture economy today, with land prices where they're at and the interest in young people and particularly the desire to hire more qualified young people to operate or to be managers of or operators of large types of operations and so forth, to work within the fertilizer chemical industry. There's great opportunity for young people out there today in agriculture.
So what are some of the careers that your students are going into?
Primarily, our students will go into areas of ag business, production agriculture, farming. They'll go into the horticulture industry.
Okay.
They'll go into the ag power industry to work as service technicians.
Okay.
And all other types of anything related to agriculture that could be in the area of ag retail or supportive agriculture plus general farming.
So who's taking these courses now?
Well, we tend to find that, of course, obviously we've still got a lot of what you would refer to as traditional students.
Yeah.
Students that would
That grew up on the farm and
grew
want
up
to stay
on a farm and have really a background in agriculture. We also do have a lot of students who come from larger communities, and these students would go into various different types of career choices. One of the really popular ones nowadays is to look at the veterinary track, to work in either the small animal or large animal industry. Also in the horticulture industry, greenhouse management, landscape design, things of that nature have been very popular for what we would refer to as non-traditional students.
So it's really is a very encompassing program that you have there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the way you introed us was very, very good in that we work with all different aspects of agriculture, from conception to consumption in the livestock end of things, to the plant breeding, to the harvesting, and all things in between. And it's really a science-based industry. It's a high technology industry.
So why don't you tell me some of the programs, some of the ways students can specialize in this program?
Okay. Well, we basically have a couple of different degree paths that students can take a look at. we have an associate in science program in agriculture. And that program is designed for students who are looking at doing 2 years at a community college and then transferring on to a 4-year institution to get a bachelor's degree in whatever discipline they would decide to go into. Then we have an associate in applied science degree program, which was originally written for students to look at doing just 2 years at the college level and then going out into their career field.
Okay.
Be it ag production, ag business, ag power, whatever it may be. The unique part about that program is two things basically. Number one, students get in their 2 years at Lakeland in agriculture 26 weeks worth of on-the-job training through what we refer to as supervised occupational experience.
So they get a half year, basically?
Essentially a half year, yeah.
Wow.
And those students are paid a wage. They are required to work a 40-hour work week, and they are evaluated. And of course, with a lot of our students, especially in the spring and the fall and the busy times of the year, 40 hours is obviously no big problem.
Right.
But they are evaluated by their employer. They are evaluated by our staff. We've referred to it often as a student can earn while they learn.
Right.
And the neat part about the Associate in Applied Science program at Lakeland is that it was originally written for students who were looking at just doing 2 years.
Right.
But we have a capstone arrangement with 3 in-state ag schools, Southern Illinois University at Carbondale, Western Illinois University at Macomb, and Illinois State University at Bloomington-Normal, that they'll accept those credits as transferable.
Okay, great.
So a student could go on and get a bachelor's degree from one of those 3 in-state colleges.
Without losing any time.
Without losing any time. They finish basically in 4 semesters. In the associate in science route, those students get all their gen eds done at Lakeland, and then they'll transfer on to places like University of Illinois, Purdue, or one of those other 3 in-state ag schools as well.
Right. So, what sort of specialties are there? I mean, I understand there's a ag business program.
Right. We have an ag business and supply program. Again, these are associate and applied science degrees. Ag business and supply, ag production and management, ag power technology, John Deere ag tech, alternative ag production, horticulture, and I'm sure I'm probably forgetting a few, but ag machinery sales would be another one there too that we have as some of our different degree paths. And then we also offer certificates, which are 1-year degrees in some of the same programs.
Now, what is the John Deere Tech program like?
Okay, John Deere Tech program at Lakeland was started back in 1993, and it's a partnership between Lakeland College and John Deere Corporation.
Why do they? What do they do?
At the time that the program was originally started, John Deere was looking for more highly skilled and trained service technicians.
Oh, okay.
So they identified regions throughout the country where specific sites would be located for their training, and we happen to be, Lakeland College happens to be, the training site for both Illinois and Missouri.
Okay.
Students who enter into the John Deere program have to go through a battery of placement testing, and then they also have to find a sponsoring dealer, and then generally will commit to that dealer for a period of time after they finish their 2 years at Lakeland. Some have gone on and actually transferred out through a capstone arrangement to other institutions to finish a 4-year degree there as well.
So there was a big need. One of the sponsors identified that need, came and helped set up this program. So they work on all sorts of different power machinery?
All different types of John Deere equipment, tractors, combines, tillage and all kinds of tillage and harvesting equipment, anything within under the John Deere umbrella, they will be involved with.
You also have a program on application techniques.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Custom application was another one.
I was mentally checking them off.
Yeah, ag professional custom application. There again, a need was identified by people in the fertilizer chemical industry that students needed to have a bit more, or people that they were hiring needed to have a bit more training past the high school level.
You're dealing with those very dangerous chemicals. I would hope you have some.
And also, they're utilizing a great deal more technology today than they did years ago, because everything centers around global positioning systems, variable rate technology, spreaders that can shut off in different portions of the field, and so forth. And so, having a program like that has enabled us to maybe meet the needs of some of our employers in the region and that kind of thing.
Now, one of the things I'm just impressed with is that a farmer really has to be a small businessman, a small business person. And in that regard, there's a lot of skill sets that don't require dirt underneath the fingernails.
Absolutely.
You know, what sort of support do you give to those students?
Well, basically, a lot of our classes will focus on really everything in regards to being a good manager of an operation, from record keeping to farm management issues to being able to do land appraisals to knowing how to properly feed livestock, to having a really strong basic understanding of all of the facets of agriculture. That's what we try to provide to them, and we utilize as much modern technology as we can, and we have a staff that is outstanding in each one of their fields and very current in all the areas of agriculture.
So how unique is your program? Well, tell me, you know, it sounds like it's a very unique setup that we have here.
We certainly like to feel that we're very unique within, really truthfully, the United States, because not only do we provide students with excellent hands-on training, but we also have a tremendous academic experience at Lakeland, and that really stretches far past our agriculture department, because students that have to transfer on to university have to take general education classes. And the one thing that we always try to impress upon our prospective students is how good our instruction is in the area of humanities and social science. And
it's easier there than it is oftentimes elsewhere.
Class sizes are much smaller, and the availability to pick up a class that you need is much greater. You know, some of the other unique aspects, I think, you know, our partnership with John Deere obviously is unique. Some of our programs are very unique. We try to involve our students a great deal in decision-making processes and things that go on at within the ag department a lot. We have agriculture clubs. We have a ag transfer club, an ag production and business club, a post-secondary ag student club. We have a livestock judging team that travels throughout the United States on a yearly basis.
Wow.
And so lots of unique and neat opportunities for students to get involved in if they go into the agriculture program at Lakeland.
Well, it sounds to me like if I was a young farmer, I'd certainly look you up. Thanks, John, for coming today.
Okay. Well, Fred, thank you very much.
I remember as a kid, when weather forecasting was still more art than science, my father would bring home the Farmer's Home Almanac. It was folksy, fun to read, and full of information I never knew anybody collected, moonrise times and tides, for example. But the thing I remember most clearly was the weather forecast. The definitiveness of the forecast made it fun to plan out snow days months in advance, and added to the disappointment when I realized I'd have to turn in that book report on time. In this week's Under the Four Rivers Sky, Cameron Craig looks at this long-time agricultural institution, the Farmer's Home Almanac.
We have seen them in magazine racks at bookstores and in the checkout lanes of the grocery store nestled between other popular publications. Of all the magazines or serials offered, the Farmer's Almanac is one of the oldest publications that has lasted as long as our nation has been around. It is the longest living institution that was originally intended for the colonial farmer, but has since gained a bigger audience of many different backgrounds. Although there were many different versions of the Farmer's Almanac that started in the late 1700s, the old Farmer's Almanac published by Yankee Publishing is the oldest continuous version today. Robert B. Thomas published the first issue in 1792. The annual publication continues to offer readers the same information that Thomas established in the original publications, such as weekly weather forecasts, planting tips, astronomical data, and various tidbits of information for every walk of life. The Almanac's most highly interested component among readers is the weather forecast. The Almanac is published in September and highlights the weather forecast for the coming year. How are these forecasts determined? The answer is not an easy one because the secret recipe is locked in a black tin box and has only been seen by a handful of people. It is said that the forecasts are determined about 2 years prior to the publication of the almanac using solar science, climatology, and meteorology. The editors of the almanac claim that, on average, their forecasts are 80% accurate. As a geographer and climatologist, I have yet to do a statistical analysis of that claim, but I will say that comparing the forecasts published in the almanac with what actually occurred on a local scale, they are pretty close in general terms. Instead of predicting daily maximum minimum temperatures, like your local broadcast meteorologist, they forecast the departure from the normal on a month-by-month basis. In each almanac, the editors provide a statistical evaluation of the previous year's prediction based on actual averages. For this region, the Old Farmer's Almanac predicted temperatures to be 0.7 degrees below average, and the actual departure for temperature for December through February was 0.5 degrees below average. That, in my book, is pretty accurate. I don't know how they do it, but it is impressive and interesting. I have often said to my broadcast meteorology students that it is impossible for any one human to predict the weather with 100% accuracy. The simple reason for this is that nature is so complex and involves many different variables, known and unknown. However, we have sophisticated weather tools that allow us to predict the weather with pretty good accuracy. One particular tool used by meteorologists is a series of weather models that are created by sophisticated equations computed by powerful computers. Another method is by using the climatology of a particular region. If we know what happened in the past, we understand better how the atmosphere will act in the near future. Let me get on my soapbox for just a few seconds. The most accurate forecast is what is happening right now. The forecast for tomorrow is just as accurate because it is the extreme near future to right now. Even the forecast 2 days out or even 3 days out is pretty good. It is when we begin looking at 5 days and beyond that things get a little crazy and our confidence wanes. Remember, we are predicting specific numeric values, and that is where we get into trouble. If we are 1 degree off what we said would happen, the town comes after us with pitchforks and rope. Some don't realize that the evolution of the atmosphere is not a constant, that it can flow faster or get choked up by other atmospheric occurrences upstream or downstream. The moral of the story is this: be kind to your meteorologist and be forgiving when things don't pan out exactly how we said they would. After all, we are only human. Whatever method you choose to get your weather forecast from, whether it be the Old Farmer's Almanac or your local broadcast meteorologist, be certain that there will be some truth to that forecast. Given our knowledge of the science, we are pretty good at what we do.
You know, on the Four Rivers Ag Report, we're always looking for news that is of interest to the agricultural and the rural communities. Every week we scour the local papers, the state and national websites. We talk to lots and lots of people every day looking for information that will help and or entertain you. There is one more way that we can find out the latest news, topics, trends, and events that are part of your life. You can tell us. We'd love to hear from you about what's going on in your town, on your farm, or even on your neighbor's farm. If you got a topic you'd like us to talk about, let us know. I probably won't know the answer, but I probably know people who do. Please let us know what is happening. You can call us at 217-581-7245. You can email us at weiu@weiu.net. We're on Facebook at WEIU TV, Public Broadcast Station. And if you tweet, we're on Twitter at WEIU1. So now that you got our number, don't be a stranger. And finally, people are nothing if not resourceful. From the New York Times, I found this article. Eddie Miller of Oberlin, Ohio, has found an interesting way to make a go in this uncertain economy. He's opened up a landscaping business, except he has no equipment to speak of other than his sheep. Miller wasn't able to find a job after college, so he opened the Heritage Lawn Mowing Service. Miller rents out his sheep to graze on people's yard. For $1 per sheep per day, he'll bring his sheep to trim your grass, eat your dandelions and weeds, and provide some ambiance and company for your lawn gnomes. It really is a win-win. Miller saves hundreds of dollars a month in food costs for his sheep, and customers get a trim lawn with little noise or carbon monoxide emissions. Oh, and they also get some free fertilizer. It sounds like a good deal for you. Well, that's it for this week. Work hard, be safe, thank a veteran, and enjoy the sunsets. I'm Fred Peralta, and thanks for watching the Four Rivers Ag Report.